Welcome, ladies and gents. Welcome to the Treach Leches inaugural episode podcast. You can call me B Stacks, give a nickname from the fellas. We got Zoda God, aka Rhythmatic.
What's good?
We got Rada Mess from Juice.
And that's how they say my name in the movie too, but I say Radimus, and that's not me even trying to get at you, Brandon, but Radimus Ray, people know me by a bunch of things. Puerto Rican Mr. Clean, Puerto Rican Common.
That's it, man, representing Jersey.
I got a little bit of lag right now. I don't know if you guys got the same thing.
Puerto Rico. So just a brief backdrop on how we got here. So in 2015, I had a podcast with a colleague and good friend of mine entitled The 2 Cents Podcast, which was pretty much barbershop talk, with a little bit of social, political views mixed in with like hip hop backdrop. And anytime that we needed some hip hop input, I would always call on these two brothers to add some great insight. And as that podcast began to kind of just be defunct, we always had plans of kind of regrouping and doing something else as a trio. During the coronavirus quarantine situation, it actually was like the perfect time to end this podcast, and we look forward to doing many more episodes. And as of now, we're using Facebook Live as a tool, but you can find our episodes on YouTube and all our pages. And as we grow, we'll transform it into many other platforms. Fellas, how y'all feeling?
Oh, lovely. You know, it's a blessing. You know, definitely. It's a long time coming, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I enjoyed it when it was the 2 Cents Podcast, and that was just audio. Now we're, utilizing video. It just seems like the stars have kind of aligned for us to be able to do this. This, like I said, this idea was in the making, and, given the current climate of things where people are using Zoom and just this kind of conferencing technology, it just seemed like the time was right. So, and I think today's topic is also well-timed, and we'll get into that in a few. Renzo about to have a real good time. So
that's the finest of the dragon milk.
So, all right. So so without further ado, Brandon, I don't know if you want to get right into it.
Yeah, we'll jump on into this. So our first topic here, we're gonna analyze the life and rhymes of Treach, lead artist from Naughty by Nature, the esteemed 90s hip hop group. And just want to give you guys a brief monologue. So in 1992, Treach was spotted on the cover of Vibe magazine, which basically marked the change of him being the most ushered #1 star in hip hop at the moment. Albeit maybe short-lived, that was most likely and probably his official global spotlight in hip hop at that time. To give you guys a history, Naughty by Nature's debut album came out in 1991. The second album, 1990 Naughty 3, came out in 93. And the third album, Poverty's Paradise, came out in 95. Now, they went on to release a few more albums, but those were the first three. And this Vibe cover was right after the first album. So this was probably his biggest kind of star moment in hip hop. So I just wanted to just give initial thoughts to you guys. And, let's just get into like first time hearing Treach, Naughty by Nature for you guys.
Yo, right away, I think back to 91, anybody that knows me knows I reference time with music, I remember things because of music, what music I was listening to at the time. And in 91, my older brother had the cassette. I don't know how he got that past my mother, but he had it. And remember, that was their first album as Naughty by Nature, because they had one as like independent leaders before, but I can't even stream it. I can't even get to it. But, just from the hit singles, OPP, Ghetto Bastard, and just the whole album, I was a fan instantly. And what's funny is when you listen to that album, it can practically serve as a Treach solo, because I think Vin Rock maybe had minimal appearances on there. But that was my intro to Naughty by Nature, and pretty much never looked back since.
I think for me, I don't know, it was necessarily the first intro, granted, but the one that really always sticks in mind was literally probably when I first actually moved from Philly to Abington when I went to Highland Elementary School. So Naughty was already, OPP was like, the main song that was playing at that time. I didn't really know what the acronym stood for it then, being a young boy. And I remember at recess, people were reciting lyrics. So I'm thinking, somebody's like, other people's pussy. I'm like, ooh, pussy. Like, I'm thinking, I'm trying to put two to two together. That's my virgin mind right there, that's corrupted at an early age.
They said other people's property was the clean version.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it was funny because, like, we had to do, like, a group activity, had to come up with teams. So our team was like, yo, we're OPP. And I remember our teacher's like, what is OPP? And we're like, other people's property, like, So that was always a thing that stood out. But I mean, obviously, when you look at Treach, and if you look at most of Naughty's albums by far and large, it's been mostly Treach for the most part. Then a little bit more as they got deeper into the catalog. And that's one thing that kind of took me back when I listened to the album. Like, where's Vin? Because I didn't realize how much Treach dominated those albums.
Yeah, same for me. So, I've had a chance to see them live. We actually saw them together, and I remember when Naughty had the little fallout. He made it really clear, like he was the writer. He was the inspiration for the group, and other than KG, Hooper provided the production. Was the other element. But for me, first time hearing them, I think just like, 91, I mean, we were younger guys, like little kids. But I think just hearing them, just hearing the singles, hearing like the OPP and, the Juice soundtrack, where, Radamez is famously, Tupac and Nemesis.
and Treach in the movie is actually on Radamez's, he's like when they run up on Tupac,
right. Yeah. So this got layers. This got layers to you, my brother. Mm-hmm.
And Jersey.
And Jersey represented too. You represent. So yeah, just hearing the songs on the radio and always just being a staple and like like real hip hop, but also like hip hop that was celebrated in the masses. So we'll swing with this next one. So favorite album. So unfortunately, Treach never had a solo. Yeah. So we're talking Naughty by Nature albums. Yeah. What's you guys' favorite album? Involving Treach?
I mean, for me, it's to me, and I was going through them a lot within the last week, but it's a self-titled one. For me, I just think the rawness and just the energy. Like, you can tell he was trying to let it known that, I might not be from New York or Cali, but Jersey's on the map now, type deal. And I think really, when you look at it, I mean, granted, he had Clean Latifah, they're part of the flavor unit, but I think that was the first real, even before Redman, dominant MC coming from the Garden State. And he pretty much put everybody on notice, in a sense, what I mean? Like, we can talk about like the double time flows and whatnot, but to me, it was almost like a blitzkrieg. Like, he would go in, but like, that's what with so much power, like his voice, very commanding voice, So the other albums, especially if we look at the other ones that follow, are solid, but I think that one right there, if I had to introduce somebody to Treach as an MC, I'm going to that one, especially with Yoke the Joker, Uptown Anthem, and so forth.
Yeah, and you know what, to piggyback off of that, I like that he was definitely putting his foot down for New Jersey. Queen Latifah discovered them, right? When they were independent leaders, right? They didn't really take off there. She discovered them. She's the one who told them, I guess she rebranded them, so to speak, right? So, but yeah, my even listening to all of the other ones recently, it's the first one. I felt like it was the perfect marriage. And this is no offense to Vin Rock, who pretty much is non-existent on the album, but I think it was just the flows. I felt like it was the best set of beats that KG provided them. KG was like what Jam Master Jay was to Run DMC is what KG was to Naughty by Nature. And you know, he knew what sound to give them, whether it was mostly Treach dominating or, you know, Treach had, you know, and Vinny were there. They had the right chemistry in their prime, especially like on those first 4 albums. So it's really that first one. But this is not to take away, like, if anybody's watching this doesn't mean that their other albums are whack. I mean, they have, like, even their singles, they were putting out hit after hit on every album throughout the entire 90s. But I would have to say the standout is the debut, man. I don't know if you feel that way, Brandon, or if you like one of the other ones more.
Yeah, thankfully, I disagree. So,
oh, there we go.
Just for interest's sake. Now, first album is dope. I mean, you know, he went from MC Treacherous, like you said, to Treach, shortened the name. But I gotta go 1903, man. Like, first of all, like, that was the first time, like, I think someone incorporated a year into an album. And I just feel like sometimes second albums people get fat and happy, and they're not like as motivated.
Slump.
This second album goes hard. Like, I mean, and you know, you got Hip Hop Array on there. Like the jams escalated. Like the original MC artist, DJ production was the same. And I think 1903. I mean, it might have sold the most. I don't know. We probably have to fact check it.
I would think so. Just off of Hip Hop Array alone.
Yeah,
that was the biggest hit.
Yeah,
know?
huge. 1903 is it for me. Like, I could just never get tired of that album. And even before we were doing this podcast, like, that was just one of those albums that I redug and like dusted off and like, let me just check this album out again. And it got all the elements of hip hop, everything that you want.
Yeah,
and I felt like whereas on the first album, the one thing I would say that I think was improved on in 1903 was, whereas the first album, it felt like Treach was, it was just a rapper rapping. It was just really enjoyable to listen to. But when you get to 1993, some of the concepts start to get fleshed out a little bit more. You know, there was a little bit more focus. Yeah. I mean, besides Hip Hop Array, like that It's On, and I know you had used that on and on and on and on and on. I mean, man, I hadn't heard that like in a little while, you know? Yeah, so I felt like with that album, with their second album under the name of Naughty by Nature, the concept started to kind of come into play more. And Vin Rock is, he's more present on the album too. You know, and how about Hip Hop Array? Exactly. Since we just mentioned Hip Hop Array, Tom Hanks' wife just went viral reciting the lyrics to Hip Hop Array in April. You didn't see that, Brandon?
Nah, that's crazy.
Really?
Rita Wilson, yeah. So she had to learn, like, to anybody watching, she had to learn that song for a role in some movie that she was in. The movie, I didn't see it. So remember, her and Tom Hanks, they had COVID, you know, they had the coronavirus. So since she was quarantined, she just decided to fire up her phone and say, yo, let me see if I can still do these, you know, do the song. And she recorded herself. She did the whole song, word for word, chorus, the breathing, everything. And she nailed it. Tom Hanks' wife knows Hip Hop Array word for word. And it went viral in April. They even wound up releasing a Hip Hop Array remix that I didn't listen to, but it's supposed to be with them and her somehow, and the funds going to charity. I think that was the purpose of that. And you can stream it. But that happened in April. Yep.
Yeah, I remember seeing that because I think she was in the bedroom saying it, and then as you mentioned, they did the video. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it was nice, you know, interaction between her and Treach, you know. So definitely good vibe.
That's dope. All right, man. So we'll swing on. So next, consensus for the group. Do you guys? So again, Naughty by Nature is a group. Treach is the lead artist, so you know he falls in that category of a Prodigy or a Q-Tip, or a Guru from Gangstar, where these guys are like the best guys, but sometimes they just get, you know, second fiddle because they're within a group, right? So they don't get the attention of a Snoop or a Tupac or a Kendrick, you know, or a Drake. So where do you guys think that the group Naughty by Nature, where do you guys put them in the pantheon of hip hop?
So you're talking more so where they stand as a group, not so much where Treach stands by himself, correct?
Correct. Or we could do both. Let's do both.
Oh, I was going to say do both.
Yeah,
I was getting more towards Treach.
Yeah.
It's a tough pickle because I remember, so we talked about the Vibe cover, and I think that might have been the actual first Vibe issue, I think, with Treach. But when you look at the time frame, so that came out September 92. Then
Actually, yeah, let's do Treach first and then Naughty. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, so you had the cover, and I remember when the cover said Naughty by Nature or Naughty by Nurture. And that kind of stuck to. I reread part of the article last night, actually, and it kind of makes sense. So while now here's the guy who might become the man in hip hop, they're almost like in a bubble because now you're about to have the G-Funk really take off within a year, at that point. And then after that, you're going to start seeing Wu and Pac and Big. So you kind of got lost in the shuffle in a sense because pretty much when Cube, it was Cube, and then you had Naughty for almost like a split second. Yeah. You know what I mean? And when I look at Treach's career as a whole, like you said, he kind of stuck in the bubble of a group. So when people talk about like the greats, you're not really hearing them because people are like, well, he wasn't a solo artist, he was in a group. But you can make the same argument about like 3 Stacks, Black Thought. But I think the main difference was that they were more, proficient in the later years, in the mid 90s, 2000, where Treach, kind of fizzle out a little bit per se, where people might not see him as relevant. But if we were talking about bars and lyrics, I can't really say he underachieved. I think it's timing. I think it was bad timing. Unfortunately, that was out of his hands. That he might not got the right shine or the right amount of respect on the overall scale. I mean, obviously you got your Eminems, your Crooked Eyes, and so forth who know what he stands for. But for the average hip hop fan, kind of got brushed underneath the table, so to speak.
I follow you up, Zoe, and then Ray, you say your piece. I put Treach as ability and skill level. It's hard to say like all time. So let's just say 90s, right?
Yeah.
He's easily top 10 90s, and then all time. I mean, he's got to be like 30, within the 30 bracket. I may even put him for 90s. I may even put him, 6, 7, 8, because like you said, I mean, we're talking like, basically like Death Row was around the corner. So, in hindsight, nobody talks about this on a freaking dynasty, Death Row with Tupac and Snoop, that didn't happen yet. So Treach was basically like he was the guy, like, all right, you're the Michael Jordan of hip hop for this 8 or 9 months. You know what I mean? Like they've already got a gold album on the way to platinum. The streets have already co-signed him. He's got mass appeal. What's stopping him? He's articulate. Like he had no like good looking guy. You know what I mean? Like he could wear every brand of forward, of whatever you call as forward. And so to me, he's elite level.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And to add to that, and I apologize if it breaks up. I'm having a little bit of connectivity things over here.
Daddy.
But now remember, Treach, a good reason why why I think this was a good leadoff episode and it connects to what we're talking about right now is as recent as this week, Eminem cited Treach as one of his GOATs. Eminem they quoted Eminem as saying when he first heard Treach that he wanted to quit rapping. So this is, Eminem, who's had 10 times the success of most artists, crediting Treach. I think that's a testament to his ability. Not only could he do rap records, he could do R&B records. Like think about the joint he did with Monica on the Nutty Professor soundtrack. Think about what he did with Aaliyah, Girl Like You on the 1 in a Million. He really could do all of that. But I think but because everything was done under the Naughty by Nature, umbrella, the credit went to Naughty by Nature. When chances are, let's say if like Vinny never existed, these could have been Treach solos. You know what I'm saying? I think maybe if it wasn't a Naughty by Nature and if it was just Treach you know, maybe he would have gotten more of that credit, but everything got associated to Naughty by Nature. So I think that's another thing too. You know, I think he's definitely worth his weight. Just the way he rhymes. Like I said, besides Eminem giving him props, look at who he's worked with. You know, he had Pun on the later albums. Think about how Pun goes dead in the middle of literally, like Treach can do that stuff. And Treach was doing that stuff in 1991. You know, he was ahead of a lot of people that were more successful that we still like. So do I think he gets the props he deserves? No, but I think it's because a lot of it gets credited to Naughty by Nature. I think that's what happens. Like that delineation doesn't occur where it should.
Yeah. And he's Treach is one of those MCs, man. We'll move on, but he's one of them guys where like people can't even say all the words to his songs because it's like it takes skill just to like mimic songs.
Yeah, the alliteration alone, you know. I mean, you listen to Yoke the Joker, and it's like, oh. You know,
if you can rap that back word for word, then you should be a rapper.
That's hard to just karaoke. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the delivery, and you know what? And we'll go to the next topic. I think he has a unique voice. He kind of has it's just high pitched enough, and it's not annoying. Like, you know it's him when he's on a track. There's no mistaking so that's another element that's underrated, like a rapper's voice. That's an instrument in itself. So besides the delivery and his ability to flow and rhyme his ass off, he also sounds unique. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, we're moving right into where we need to go. So did Treach live up to potential, or did he underachieve, in you guys' opinion?
I think it's kind of a tweener because, like I said, live is timing. So I think potential-wise, I think it was all there. Maybe I don't know what's going on there, fireworks, but I just think timing-wise, you know, might not have been the best. But I mean, as far as his potential, I mean, the people he influenced to this day, you know, of his DNA is there. So I mean, I think on a rapper standpoint, I think he lived up to his potential. And we're talking about as far as some of the more legendary artists, maybe not as much, you know, per se. But if you got Eminem, who, you know, that, you know, like the masses, you know, that think there's, you know, to go in a lot of their circles, and he's quoting him word for word. And not only on the Crooked Eye interview, but also even on Ice-T's Art of Rhyme. So you can go back to there. So Eminem goes out of his way to mention Treach, and he even says it's kind of criminal that Treach doesn't get mentioned in the same lanes as a G-Rap, as a Kane, as a Rakim, and he should be in that same lane. You know what I mean? And look at the consistency. Up until mid-2000s, you know, they were dropping banger hit singles after hit singles after hit singles. You know what I mean? That was mostly him. Granted, as a group, it was still mostly him.
Right.
You know,
and they weren't radio records. Yo, that's what's crazy about it. They weren't chasing
the radio came to them.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
It was their sound, and you know what I'm saying? But I'll let you. I just have to throw that in there real quick. But my bad.
Oh no, you're fine. So, like you said, the radio came to him. So, in that respect, I can't really say they underachieved because they didn't really do stuff outside of their realm or outside of their comfort zone. Not to the 2000s, really. When you really look at what type of songs they were coming out with at that time, they were able to dictate who was going to listen to it and how powerful that movement was going to be.
Yeah,
right. Because my answer ties into the next phase. So bro.
I would say the only thing that wasn't said is what Naughty by Nature did not underachieve. They did, their success was, you could tell, was rooted in the music they wanted to make, and they made it really well. It had the party elements, the bravado elements. They could talk to the girls. I think every album, there's a kitty cat reference with him, you know, all of that. You know, they could speak to every you know, all audiences. The one thing I would have wanted from Treach in terms of like, is I would have liked to, there's no reason why he shouldn't have been collaborating more with other solo acts who were established. You know what I mean? And when you look through his, when you do the history and you look through his collaborations, there's not a lot of, you know, Treach collabos that should have happened in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? You know, there wasn't, like, I don't remember, like, you know, I think he only worked with Redman like once off the top of my head. You know what I mean? Or just whoever else was popping in the 90s. I think
a couple Tupac songs.
Yeah, like he's on the Strictly, you know, album. But I think he could have been featured. You know how like Busta Rhymes and Ludacris and all these other guys were like the go-to guys for features? There's no reason why Treach couldn't have been that.
Well, just to piggyback off of that real quick, and I think it might be more of a generation era thing. Because we look at a lot of the hip hop early '90s. Outside of your main circle, you weren't really going outside to, you know, this do that. To me, that was happening more mid '90s when you start seeing Jay,
Later.
even Nas, because you know later. Cause remember, Nas was the first, you know, non-Wu-Tang person on a Wu-Tang song. You know, Method Man was the first one who jumped off of Wu to do with the Biggie. So I think that time frame, it was almost like you just really stuck to your crew, outside of maybe somebody, you know, who might have been strongly affiliated with your, you know, your best friend or your right hand or whatever at that point. So, but I get what you're saying, because to me, a prime Treach, you know, in an early age Eminem, where you could hear a lot of Treach in early Eminem, you know, that would have been something, you know, worthwhile hearing, you know, even today. But, you know, based off current Eminem, me not so much, but the druggy Eminem, yeah.
That's another podcast, the Eminem podcast. That's another episode, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. So I will say, as a group, of course, Naughty over G. Treach, I'm gonna say, in my opinion, as an artist, under G. So this, you know, it's been, you know, of course we all know this, but it's already put out there for history that him and Tupac had a very, very good relationship. You know, I think we all knew that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I believe that if you look at the albums, after '95, Poverty's Paradise, to me, is the last, you know, I'll say like classic level Naughty by Nature album. Obviously, Tupac dies in 1996, followed by Biggie's death in '97.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, you know, I'm putting this out here. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting my Stephen A. Max Kellerman on.
Oh, we got the hot take coming?
It's coming. I'm gonna say, because up until then, Treach was basically perfect. I'm gonna say that the death of Tupac negatively impacted Treach's professional career as well as his personal career. His lyrical stature, him being the energy of the group, changed after the death of Tupac. And it's almost like, I don't know the brother, you know what I mean? I only know him on, you know, as being a fan. But I feel like for Treach, Tupac was that guy where it was almost like a competition. It's like healthy competition. There you go, it's my brother over here. Oh, you got that going on? Oh, you got Dear Mama? Oh man, we coming with the Naughty record. You know, yo, you got All Eyes on Me? Oh man, yo, Poverty's Paradise, man, we just dropped that. Like, and I feel like a chunk of his spirit. And he said this. I mean, he said, when I died, you know, Tupac died, a little bit of me died. And I believe that was the case for his career as well. I believe a lot of Tupac went with him, you know, because I just don't notice the same guy. I mean, it's not like totally like he forgot how to just rap and stuff, but I don't notice. I think it's a clear difference post Tupac and then with Tupac living.
No, I agree. I remember that Vlad interview that you're talking about. When they said that, you know, Big said, because you said he's like I'm really kind of dead now, you know, in a sense. I'm here, but I'm not here, you know. So I can definitely see that and definitely can agree to that, because, you know, how their bond in general, you know, they're both, you know, even though Treach was East Coast, he still had a lot of West Coast love too, like Pac did, and even his kind of vibe, you know, you could tell he was East Coast. Cali artists always respected Treach, you know, even Hip Hop Right Easy's on there and stuff. So he had all that love. I remember he was talking about the East Coast, West Coast beef. It really affected him, because he's like, yo, man, like, those were my peoples. Like, there was no East Coast, West Coast beef until magazines. Like, he said gangsters don't read magazines. Right. But now they hear that, oh, well, when they come over here, it's on, and vice versa. So I think the joy, even overall, went away, you know, even before the death, just of the bickering, because for what? What were we bickering over? You know, I mean, I remember being a young boy, like, oh, it's West Side or Tupac versus Big. Like, as kids, we don't really understand what's going on. But as adults, we see it now. It's like, you know, we should have been making music, making money, being happy, and just keep pushing the culture, not without that type of negativity.
And it's so rare that you see, like, okay, like, yeah, Biggie and Jay-Z were cool, you know. But Tupac and Treach were like brothers. I mean, they came into the game together. Different level of relationship, you know, and you rarely see that happen. I mean, who else can you compare that to? Maybe like Jam Master Jay with Run DMC, but by that time, Run DMC was like already done recording. You know what I mean? So like, it's rare that you see a colleague and a really close friend perish to that extent.
Yeah.
And you know,
And the thing is, you got to remember, like, I think what also, they came up together, but specifically, like, anybody who, like, watching that is not aware of how exactly they came to cross paths. When Pac was with Digital Underground, Treach was, you know, putting in his dues for Queen Latifah on Flavor Unit. So, like he said, they were both roadies. They were doing the coffee runs, the food runs, and, you know, they were just, you know, they were playing second fiddle. So they were at that bottom level together, and they formed that friendship like that. So that was a very genuine friendship because they experienced being broke and success together. And to have had that, and then for Pac to have died the way he did, no one reps Pac, I think, more than Treach. Honestly, I don't think anybody from, I take nothing away from the Outlaws or anybody like that, but when Flex was talking Reckless or Whack 100 or whatever, fucking Treach flew out to the West Coast. You know, whenever, like, when anything Pac related, even in 2020, Treach always reps for him. That was a true friend. And, you know, I can understand why your hot take, so to speak, came from that, because that wasn't like an industry friend. This was a real friend. So
well, this kind of swings into the, you know, final act of our show here. So here are the what ifs. So like the career alternate paths. So like, you know, we didn't discuss this. Treach definitely embarked on an acting career, which began we kind of touched on it. It began in Juice, but he might have, you know, did lesser roles or took less gigs, you know, for the sake of Naughty by Nature. But he, you know, he did Blood of Bone. He's a ton of extra roles.
He was even in a Sopranos episode, man. That's my favorite show. He had a Sopranos role.
He starred in a lot of B movies, and he also, the ghostwriting could have went to another level. So, you know, what's your feedback on just like the what ifs? Like, is there another realm of like other than him being like a mainstream MC that you think that he could have did better in, or like similar success?
I think offhand. So remember, you know, when they had the first kind of split up in the early 2000s, when it was just Ben and Treach, I think that might have been honestly the perfect time for him to embark into a true solo album. You know, at that point.
You mean in the late 2000s?
No, this was early 2000s. This was
okay,
2002. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I said late.
You can remember KG. He left, I think, around 2000 for maybe 4 or 5 years, and then they got back together.
Yeah, that Icons album. There's no KG on that.
Yeah. So so KG had no involvement there. So I kind of think when KG left briefly, that might have been the kind of the window at that point for Treach. You know, especially he still has, I think, good enough stats where you can still got like top level producers, or you got another major on his own as a solo artist to say, hey, yeah, I was Naughty by Nature, and, you know, it was mostly, but here's me as a whole, where maybe he could got into more personal levels that he could maybe not done in the group, in a group sense. At that point, I think if something like that happened, I think maybe you get more of that recognition of him, you know, and not only in our circles, but some more of the outer circles, you know, at that point. And then other than that, I mean, and this is a weird vibe now with them, because remember in 2012 when him and Ben, he just says it's a business relationship. Because remember when we saw them at Roots, you can tell the vibe, the energy, the aura, it was just off.
It was
like,
different.
yeah, they were doing the songs, but you could tell it was like no chemistry. Literally, like when they were finished, Treach was off the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not. They don't want to mess up the bags for each other. That's really it. This is all about the bags because they still generate. They tour internationally still. So.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the only thing I think could have been different if he had the opportunity to make that one at least legitimate solo album just for his sake, you know.
Yeah, my answer is no, not terribly different. Yeah, that I would have liked him to have ventured into that solo realm. Like, look how Guru would do like the Jazzmatazz albums. I'm not saying that Treach, had to necessarily do something very specific, but I think it's really that. It would have been great if he could have blown up more as an actor. But for me, with him, it's always music first. So I would say around the same time frame, maybe even before the Icons album. I felt like, put it like this, when he put out that Mourn You Till I Join You record in 98, I thought that was going to be the beginning of his solo career. I thought he was going to do that because it's just him. It was on a soundtrack, but that could have been I think he could have taken that and you know how like Cuba Link had Flowers for the Dead and that was like the lead off single for his album, but his album never came out. I think he could have from there pivoted and done a solo thing, so that would have been, that's what I would have wanted from him. But
I agree with everything you guys said. I think in my opinion, I think at the end of the day, he was like not an industry dude in the industry. And I think that he's got everything, man. He's got the it factor. Like he could have learned he wasn't a natural actor like Tupac was, but I think he could have learned like anything to get to catapult to the next level. Yeah. I just think that he just didn't want to go through certain bullshit and red tape. And I think that probably had a hindrance on how far he went in those other realms. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we'll get into the final call here, final acts. So legacy, as far as Treach goes, man, what do you guys just feel like what he left behind? What did he embark on? And just the lasting impact you guys feel like?
I'll just say, being that I was born and raised in New Jersey, and even just having listened to hip hop as long as I have now, as far as I'm glad that he's from Jersey, right? Like they rep East Orange, but Treach specifically, he impacted people going back to the Eminem album. Eminem is back-to-back diamond albums. He influenced people who sold way more. So I think his impact is definitely for those certain few artists that represented. I think if he was gone tomorrow, he would definitely get all the props in the world. He's respected as a legend. Absolutely. There's no way he's not going to be credited as a legend. And then when you just talk about acts to ever come out of New Jersey, both Naughty by Nature as a group and Treach just as a solo act, they're staples of our state, of my state, so he has a good legacy. I definitely wish that him and Ben Rock, could still, be doing music together. Because I think they said after 2012, they said that the chances of them doing an album together is pretty much non-existent. To anybody listening, they just released a Lost Tapes in April. And it's like 7 songs, and there's good music on there. So this is stuff that was probably recorded. It sounds like it's 90s material, and there's good material on there. But yeah, legacy, I think he solidified. We could nitpick, right? I think even the most successful artists, we could sit here and say, oh, I wish they did this, I wish they did that, right? We could say the same thing about Nas, Jay-Z, whoever. But he's a legend. There's no doubt in my mind. And if you want to say otherwise, gladly debate you on that.
Yeah, I think, when you think about Jersey hip hop, it has to be, first thing I'm thinking is Naughty by Nature and then Redman. Granted, you got Queen Latifah, Lauren,
East Coast.
Joe Budden.
Joe Budden. Listen, you say what Joe Budden, but to me, the Moon Music series, probably one of the best mixtape series. Maybe we'll talk about that on a different episode. But I think when you think Jersey, first people you're thinking of is Redman, and you're thinking of Naughty by Nature. So that right there tells you where his status is alone, without even have to say anything else. So this episode here, especially being the first episode, is us letting him know that that he can smell the roses.
Absolutely.
Because he is appreciated.
Flowers.
Definitely appreciated.
Yeah. Same for me. Just revisiting these albums, for this podcast. I just was thinking, man, like this is like hip hop perfection. You have fun, you have authenticity. He's proud to be who he is. He's a black man from the projects. With the famous phrase, you know what I mean? If you don't come from the ghetto, you know what I mean? You don't come to visit the ghetto. I'm leaving it at that, you know what I mean?
Stay the out the ghetto. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, so the radio came to them, man, and it's just like, what more do you want, man? Like, they blew up and they were who they were. I mean, bro, he's wearing like super like a freaking old school bike chain with the chainsaw, bro. That's not like pop.
No.
Oh, Brandon, and you know what's the one thing I don't know if we said it earlier. So the first year that the Grammys introduced the best rap album category, which was in '96.
That's logo, by the way, too.
Naughty by Nature, yeah, the logo was fire. Naughty by Nature was the first rap anything to win the best rap album of the year category in '96. And fun fact, in '97, the second year was out, another New Jersey act won it, the Fugees. So the first 2 years in a row, New Jersey had the best rap album category. This is when the Grammys were kind of, had a little bit of like, oh shit, you were, worth watching. So yeah, they were the first group to win the rap album of the year. So
crazy. Yeah, man. I guess that pretty much puts a bow on it. Very clear, brother.
Now I was gonna say this was dope. I would just say to anybody watching, thanks for tuning in, and just keep tuning. We're gonna have more stuff like this. Different acts, different topics, whatever. And we appreciate you guys for tuning in. You guys, if you got any sign off.
Yeah, I'll just say, just definitely appreciate it. We're all humble here. We're doing this for the love, obviously, and stuff. And it was, like I said, a long time coming. So more to come, more, digging not only into the culture, but this, that's regular societal stuff here. We're going to try to keep this as balanced as possible. So hopefully, stay on the ride, as we continue, keeping this moving.
Absolutely. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We love this, man. We love the culture of hip hop and beyond, and we hope to just bring integrity to everything that we're doing. And Ray, if you want to shout out the platforms they can check us out on.
Yes, sir. So we got the Twitter page. It's literally Tres Leches Radio. That's the Twitter handle. Facebook, Renzo, I think you just updated it so people can. It's a Tres Leches Radio as well on Facebook.
Yeah.
Instagram, I think it's Tres, the number 3. Leches, I think it's the Instagram. We're working on simplifying that, guys. We're gonna get there. Yeah. So look, and we'll be promoting it. We have these links in all our bios and stuff, and so we won't be hard to find. Check our stories, check our pages, and let us know what you thought of the episode. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did we leave anything else out? Drop your comments. We will reply.
Definitely.
All right, so thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back at it with another one. Peace.
Peace. And then let's keep in mind, we'll have the YouTube episode of this up shortly for people who didn't catch it.
Got it.
All right, 1.